welcome John Wellons and Amber Hickman. And John, you are President and CEO of the Boys and Girls Clubs of Delaware, and Amber, you're Unit Director of the Newark Club. And this week, we're focusing on youth services here in Delaware as we talk about what's going to happen with getting back to school. So to remind folks, the Boys and Girls Clubs of Delaware serve about 30,000 kids in our state. That's a huge number, with before school care, after school care, and out of school care, correct?
That's correct.
All right. John, why don't we begin with you, and maybe you can give us a quick update on where the club was prior to the virus.
Through the end of March, we had the highest number of average daily attendees in our teen program that we'd had in quite a number of years, and it actually eclipsed our annual goal for that during that time period. Unfortunately, with the COVID shutdown, that really fell off a cliff, and our organization really went through a bit of a roller coaster of events, much like everyone. And we started out when schools were closed, starting the third week of March, we remained open. And we realized after probably midway through that week that, we had probably too many people gathering together with the information that was starting to come out for everyone on social distancing. And so after a week, we decided to close our clubs and remain closed for 2 weeks, and then opened after that in 6 locations for emergency childcare, really providing services to the children of essential workers. And we continued in that way till I guess it was the middle of June, when we reopened 15 of our clubs.
This is a perfect storm because I think it's fair to say that the children that go to the clubs are from families that are largely economically disadvantaged. Is that correct? Or low income anyway?
That's true. Our kids predominantly do come from, families that have significant challenges,
Okay.
economic and social.
So these are the essential workers, the gig workers, the minimum wage workers, the people that were out there keeping the machine going while the rest of us were social distancing. So these children needed a place to go.
That's right. And their parents needed us to be able to get to work.
Sure.
That continues today.
Amber Hickman, can you help us understand the impact on the kids you serve? What's the vibe? How are you feeling?
So I think when we first came back after being off for 2 weeks, there were a lot of questions. There continue to be a lot of questions that the kids have. We have always prided ourselves on being a safe environment for kids where they could come, be themselves, and just be kids. And so that's what we really tried to provide for our kids when we opened our doors back up after being closed for 2 weeks. When things were still so uncertain. I mean, they are now as well, but really then, 3 months ago when we were bringing kids back in the door, we just tried to provide a safe, normal environment. We tried to have fun with the kids. We tried to be there to answer any questions they have. A lot of the kids were here for long hours. Parents were working longer shifts. And so, being able to provide food for them, being able to provide, just being able to play with other kids. Some of the kids were, had been in the house for weeks on end, and the parents weren't letting their kids go play outside. So being able to come and play in a gym, being able to interact with other kids and adults was really big for them. And I think that being able to be open over the past couple months, you can really see the kids are just back to being kids again. And
how long, guys, were the clubs actually closed?
2 weeks.
Okay, just the 2 weeks then.
Just 2 weeks, yeah.
All right. And
we were
that
able
would
to
have
open
been
back up.
end of March into April?
Yeah, and then when we moved into phase 2, we were able to move out of essential care. So we were able to service more of our general population, so the parents didn't have to work in essential care in order to come to the club for summer camp. So while we have transitioned into summer camp, our numbers are still lower than what they usually are due to the restrictions that we have to adhere to. But it is nice to, even now, if you're really quiet, you can hear the kids out in the club yelling and screaming, and that's music to our ears because it was quiet for a while, and that's not normal for us club staff.
Sure. John, tell me now, you mentioned prior to our starting that some of the kids are having difficulties with mask wearing. What are the rules and regs under which you are admitting children?
Ordinarily in a non-COVID environment, this time of year, we're serving 2,800 young people a day in our 43 locations. Because of the limitations on group sizes as well as authorized capacity in our clubs to maintain proper distancing, the maximum number we can serve in all of our locations right now is about 1,100. And we have around that number registered in all of our locations. We're seeing about 650 of those kids a day come to see us for care and just to hang out. There's another population of teenagers that we normally have this time of year, which runs in the 500 to 600 range, and that number is significantly lower. We're probably only seeing 100, 150 teenagers in our clubs these days, and that's a real challenge. That's a lot of kids who need help. That's a lot of families who need services who are not getting it, and that's a lot of teenagers who are in many cases left to their own devices. Maybe they're home taking care of younger siblings, or they're out on the streets or in the neighborhood getting into troubles.
Oh boy, hope not.
Been a spike in the city of Wilmington with teenage activity, and so something that we're really focused on here in the latter part of the summer to try to find ways to get more teens in our clubs. Some of our clubs like Amber and Newark and down in Seaford and Laurel as well, we found that athletic training and conditioning is something that the kids have been really interested in. So we've been offering that. We can't play organized basketball or other games, but we can come in and do physical athletic training, which has been really popular, something that we're continuing to promote to drive those.
Sure. Let me ask you a practical question. Have either of you had to lay off any of your staff? Because fewer kids, with full staff, that's a tough thing also.
It is. We've been very fortunate through COVID to not have to do that. We've not had to lay anyone off or have any furloughs. There have been some changes in the way the state of Delaware has reimbursed child care providers, of which we are a registered child care provider. And we also saw continued strength in our fundraising through the end of the year, even though we didn't meet our goals because we had to cancel a number of special events. But we haven't had to do that, and we have made a few adjustments to some staffing based on the need. And so some of our part-time workers aren't getting quite as many hours as they were getting, but we've not had to let anyone go. We're very thankful for that.
Sounds like you're really holding your own. Amber, you've got your pulse right there with the teens. Do they feel invincible, like they can't contract the virus? Are they cooperating with you?
They definitely feel invincible. But what we found is when we were finally able to let some back in, we had to really pace them. So, they wanted to come back. Almost every day they texting, calling, can we come? This is for our club. And so when we did open back up for activities in the gym and activities in the pool, we did it in a structured manner where they had to register. A little different for them, but they all had to pre-register for a time slot. That way we could get more teams in. So the swimmers registered for our time blocks, same with the basketball kids, and we were able to keep them socially distant, only allow a certain amount in per hour so that they could remain socially distant. A lot of hand washing in the gym, which they are not used to. They're not playing any 5-on-5, which has lots of, that's all the kids want to do. But we've successfully made it through a month and a half with no 5-on-5, and they've still found joy in what they're doing. They're able to connect with their friends. And so at first there was some, they weren't sure exactly how it was going to work. But they've adjusted to the new norm, and they they come in, they get their temperature taken, they go wash their hands.
The older kids especially, who can be carriers, at least that's what the research is showing now. And that's one of the things to what Amber was saying, when we are able to get the older kids in our clubs, sometimes it is more structured, like what's happening. Sometimes you can't control that structure and they just show up, which is a good thing. But oftentimes they're showing up without masks.
I'm not sure everyone appreciates just how much the clubs are important to people in the communities they serve. I mean, they are a lifeline. Particularly, is it fair to say your Newark club? I know.
Well, and to be fair, there's multiple other clubs that are having many more barriers and issues because, like John was saying, the teens don't show up with masks, or they're not willing to do certain things. They don't want to get their temperature taken, or they're just saying, "Oh, well, it's not even worth going." And so, as a unit of directors, we are really working hard to identifying those barriers and then thinking outside of the box on ways that we can continue to engage our teens in a safe manner.
John, these are brief interviews. What would you like people to know about what you need right now?
I think it's really, really important to not forget organizations like the Boys and Girls Clubs that are really on the front lines with our young people who are experiencing so much trauma that in some cases they may not even realize it, whether it's dealing with the pandemic, dealing with the fact that they're not in school, they're losing that social outlet. And there, as Amber was saying, there are a lot of other barriers that they're feeling that is, really detrimental to their longer term development. And Boys and Girls Clubs, does more than just roll out basketballs and offer a place to swim. There's a lot of education activity that's going on.
Tutoring,
mentoring. And while right now we're not able to take outside volunteers because of some of the regulations, when we do enter a phase 3, hopefully phase 3 soon of reopening, we're going to need a lot of volunteers. We're going to need those former teachers who are willing to come in and help our kids with some tutoring, with some work to help get them up to speed. Summertime, we always work a lot on reading literacy work to prevent the summer slide. And now we have on top of that the COVID slide in education. A lot of our kids have not had real formal instructions in the middle of March. And these are kids who need that.
Sure they do. Well, I will check back with you in a few weeks to see how things are going. And we, of course, post your contact information and encourage everyone to support the Boys and Girls Club, a wonderful, very important organization here in Delaware.
Absolutely. And for those who are interested in supporting us financially, you can go to our website, bgclubs.org, and
we will post
a button there.
Okay. Amber, great to see you. Thanks for all the great work both of you do. And I'll be back to you.
Great. Thanks a lot, Sharon.
All right. Take care.